What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Infamously Speaking. I'm Matt Rosa. Before we jump into game 2 of the NBA Finals, quick plugs. First and foremost, if you're not subscribed already, it'll be a huge favor if you could subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment, share with friends and family to help the show grow. Secondly, Infamously Speaking merch is live. You can find it in the description. I'm wearing the brown Infamously Speaking shirt. I can't figure out which side it's on. There it is, with the white embroidery. That's also link in bio. Go cop yourself some Infamous apparel. Now, let's talk game 2. Thunder absolutely dominant from start to finish. Now, this had a completely different feel than game 1, to me, at least when I was watching it. First and foremost, Indiana wasn't as sloppy with the ball, yet OKC was able to establish this big lead just through efficient shot creation on the offense side of the floor, and then lockdown defense on without fouling and without turning the ball over or forcing turnovers, at least in the first half. And that's when I knew that this game was going to be different. This game was going to be spooky for Indiana because OKC didn't need the turnovers. OKC didn't need Indiana's sloppy play to build a lead. They were just able to do it naturally, which is what we were used to seeing them do over the course of this season and in this postseason. So their defense was the first thing that stuck out to me. I thought they had pretty decent defensive intensity in game 1, and they kind of had some lapses towards the end of this third quarter, and then of course what Indiana was able to do in the fourth quarter. This game they were locked in from start to finish, and that shows why they're here. Now, let's talk about SGA real quick. He was phenomenal. I mean, 34 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds, the 4 steals. He was active. So was the entire team on the defensive end, like I already said. But what he was able to do on the offensive side of the ball, and it sounds crazy, right? Talk about Shai's offense. But the more and more I watch him, and I know people want to say free throw merchant, but the way that he's able to control the tempo in a game is incredible. From possession to possession, it could be slow, it could be fast, but he's going to get it however he wants to get it. He knows how to pick and choose his spots, which is incredible. What I just sounded a little crazy. Pick and choose how he wants to get it how whoever wants to get it. Talk about basketball. But it was just really impressive. He was always under control, even when they were swarming him, showing him extra defenders. He knew exactly what he was wanting. He's exactly what he wanted to do. And he was so intentional about either creating a shot, kicking the ball out, being aggressive, but never ever lost control, which I thought was extremely important. And what I also thought was important is he got the offense in a faster pace if they needed to get quick buckets because Indiana was able to get things going defensively. It felt like whenever they started to get on a run, Shai would push the intensity up to get them a quick and easy basket just to settle everybody back down again, and then immediately slow the game back down. Like, all right, we're back in it. We're good. Now let's play the brand of basketball that we want to play because we don't want to play into the Pacers' hands of speeding the ball up, giving them more possessions because that's how the Pacers came back in game 1. Shai also reached an historic milestone, 3,000 total points this season. Well, I believe it's 3,032. Let me just double check the stat real quick. Yes, 3,032. Incredible. I mean, he showed us again tonight why he was the MVP. No surprise that he's been incredible. Back-to-back 30-point games in these playoffs already, and he's going to continue to be amazing. We already know that. We know he's the best player in the finals. But there's one more part of OKC's game tonight that we got to talk about, and that's their adjustments in the coaching. I thought Mark Daigneault did an incredible job in this game. We gave Rick Carlisle his flowers after his game 1 coaching adjustments. We talked about him sticking with Obi Toppin, even though Obi was turning the ball over like crazy in that first quarter, sticking with Obi, and that allowed Obi to really open up the game offensively in the second half of game 1. Well, Daigneault, he pushed all the right buttons, it seemed. Switching guys out when they needed to switch out. I thought Hartenstein played incredible off the bench. Obviously, Caruso with 20 points. His defensive intensity was incredible. He was all over the place. But the big one, Aaron Wiggins hitting some incredible timely threes. I felt like whenever Indiana was getting some momentum going, they would kick the ball to Aaron Wiggins and boom, big three to kind of settle things down. So I thought OKC's adjustments of matching Indiana's lineup or keep their ability to keep size and athleticism in the lineup is incredible. So if they need size, they could play the double big with Hartenstein and Chet, and that really works. I thought Chet had a phenomenal game. Didn't really light up the stat sheet today, just 15 and 6, but really efficient, 6 of 11 scoring. Much better bounce back game too for Chet. But the combo of him and Hartenstein together, there was like a little lob Hartenstein threw. He's in the paint right to Chet. Phenomenal. I mean, I know I miss Hartenstein as a Knick. But they're able to play so many different combinations on the floor together. And that's because OKC's been doing this all year, just similar to Indiana. But OKC has ran these lineups before, so they know they have data and information on these lineups to say, hey, what works well if we're trying to play with pace? What works best if we're trying to slow the game down? What works best if we need our 5 best defensive players out there? What works best if we need a bucket? What works best if we need to space the floor some more? What works best if we need more speed or agility? They have all this figured out because they rolled up these lineups. We talked about the Knicks and not being able to play these extended lineups because they weren't really sure what works, what doesn't. OKC had it in the bag. I thought that Daigneault did a fantastic job of deploying lineups and really matched every single thing that Indiana tried throwing at them. Also, one more thing to call about SGA. I thought he did a phenomenal job on whoever was guarding him this game. I know the stat on Nembhard last game. I think it was like Shai shot 33%, something like that. With Nembhard as the primary defender. I don't have the stat this game, but I thought he just looked more comfortable when Nembhard was guarding him in this game. And that just could be, hey, I've seen the guy now. I know what he likes to do to try to get me out this game. I know him and Nembhard are friends that play on Team Canada, but this is a different environment. You guys are opponents now. This is the NBA Finals. So I thought Shai looked really much more comfortable against Indiana's defense and understood what they were trying to do to him. And that's what I meant, pick and chose his spots. So big credit to Mark Daigneault and the whole Oklahoma City team for what it looks like completely erasing what happened in game 1 from their mind and saying, hey, you know what? They got us. But we really dominated the first part of the first 47 minutes of that first game and kind of let it get away from us at the end. And now we just see why so many people liked Oklahoma City in this series, because how dominant they can be on the defensive end and how efficient they can be on the offensive end. I believe they shot 48% from the field. Let me just double check. 48.8. So almost 50% from the field, 88% from the stripe, 38.9% from 3. They were just on all night. Now let's move to the Indiana side of the ball, right? So if you're Indiana, you leave OKC with a split 1-1. I mean, I don't think you could have asked for anything better. People like, oh, 2-0. Of course, 2-0 is better. This is the first time that Indiana is not up 2-0 after 2 games in these playoffs. So it's going to be interesting as they go back to Indiana and they're not the team with momentum switching venues, how that plays out. I'm not super concerned with Indiana's ability to play well. Obviously, we talked about how great of a coach we think Rick Carlisle is and how they play team ball and they don't necessarily need one person to have the hot hand. But it's going to be interesting. They're in a place that they haven't been in these playoffs yet. So it's going to be interesting to see. Now, the keys for them is play their brand of basketball. Fast, efficient, get out in space. Don't let OKC set that defense. And you know what? I know we said let's jump to Indiana, but that's one more thing I want to call for OKC. Their defensive intensity and intention in getting back on defense to not allow Indiana a fast break. I mean, let me just check the fast break points real quick. I don't think they had too much. Yeah, Indiana only had 9 fast break points. 9. So they were getting back. They were getting back in transition. And I thought that was phenomenal. I thought J-Dub, who I didn't even mention, he didn't light up the stat sheet. I believe it was 19 points he had total. Let me just double check that, verify, make sure I'm not giving out misinformation. Yeah, 19, 5. What he was doing defensively was incredible. Of course, Lou Dort. So I thought their intention and effort in getting back in transition is really what kept Indiana at bay. The Indiana was never able to get into that rhythm. I don't believe Indiana broke 20 points in a quarter in this game either. I just want to double check the box. No, I'm lying. They didn't break 20. They 20 in the first quarter, 21 in the second quarter. So it was the second half. Sorry, the first half where they really struggled. Um, and then 33 in the last two quarters. But OKC kept pace with them. Indiana, their offense just felt really disjointed at points. And that's why the Thunder were able to go on these prolonged runs. And then they would just kind of like rip off 7, 10, 12-2 runs. But then Indiana would come back with big runs of their own. Sorry, Oklahoma City would come back with big runs of their own. So um, it was really interesting to see that the Pacers were really never able to assert themselves in the game. I know they brought the game close at points to within like 10 and 8. I think there was a point they brought it to win 6 in the second quarter. But there was never a point in this game where I'm like, oh, yeah, Indiana has found something and they're going to go. I mean, Miles Turner had that explosive third quarter and they still weren't close. So where do they go from here? I was speaking with somebody. I was replying to a comment on TikTok. We're talking about the whole is Halliburton overrated, give him his flowers. And someone commented, like, you gotta respect what Tyrese does. You know, he's a killer. Late game, he got it. But my comment back was, I agree with everything that he said. The biggest thing with Tyrese is his ability to kind of disappear in moments in games. And this is not a knock on him. It's just something he needs to improve on. Yeah, he had 17, but I believe it was either 4 or 5 going into the fourth, and they're already down big. The next evolution that we need to see from Tyrese is turning on that I need to go be the offense. I need to go get the bucket sooner. He needs to realize that sooner and just, hey, let me keep it afloat because we know that he can facilitate the offense at any time. He's such a gifted floor general that he can get other people in rhythm and get them easy looks and shots around the basket, wide open looks from midi, even from 3, almost at will, it seems. But he needs to be a more consistent scorer when his team needs him to be. When you don't have an MVP caliber player like Shai, you don't necessarily need that to win, but what you do need is people to have MVP type games. Pascal's had a couple this postseason. Obviously, Tyrese has had them, and he's had the big clutch shots. But when you're in games like this where no one really seems to have it going, I mean, Miles Turner was the one that had the hot hand in the third quarter, like I said, but that was too late. You need somebody to keep you within striking distance because you feel really comfortable when you get into those situations, as the playoffs have shown us so far. Incredibly efficient in the clutch. They just didn't get a chance to get to the clutch game because they were getting blown out. And that's the next thing I'm looking for Tyrese. That's what I'm going to be looking for throughout the rest of these finals, is that when your teammates don't have it going on, well, will you be able to say, all right, I got to be score first now instead of facilitate first? Yes, there's the right basketball play, but they're not in rhythm at all. They're not getting anything down on the side of the floor. I need to go get a bucket. I can't be up in the air looking to dish out. When I'm up in the air, I need to be looking to attack the basket. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think that's what Indiana needs to be able to win this series is Tyrese's decisive, I'm going to attack to score, or I'm going to attack to facilitate. And he's going to need to kind of understand when that needs to happen, and the switch needs to flip throughout the game, because it's not going to be like one game he has to attack, the next game he has to facilitate. It's going to go back and forth, I believe, throughout the course of the game. But if he can just keep them close, if Pascal's not popping off, if Miles isn't popping off, if Nesmith or Mathurin, if no one really has it going, he needs to be the engine from a scoring perspective and not just from a facilitation perspective. Get the baskets, let your guys eventually come into the flow of the game. You're good enough to do those things. You've shown us that. So some people say, hey, it was a missed opportunity to go up 2 on the road. I mean, I'd say if you're Indiana as a whole, and Indiana fans, let me know how you feel in the comments. You're happy walking out with the split. Now, you could look at as, man, we should be down 2-0, or that some people might feel that that's probably gonna be the comments. It should be down 2-0. Well, it's 1-1. So pretty much it's 0-0. Now it's a best of 5. And if you're Indiana, this is exactly the kind of series you want to go into. Whenever you're the underdog, you want to just shorten series is your goal, right? Shorten the series. Starts as a best of 7, make it a best of 5, make it a best of 3, make it a best of 1. Right? Because anything can happen in one game. I mean, Indiana knows that. Look at game 7 last year against the Knicks. They shot a ridiculous percentage. What was like 65% or something crazy like that from the field. You're capable of popping off like that. So if you're Indiana, you just keep on winning every other game. You'll be in a good spot, especially because you took game 1. So if I'm Indiana, I'm not feeling super, super concerned. You're going back to your building. You're going to have the home court advantage. Role players typically play better at home. But you got thoroughly manhandled in this game. Probably the worst defeat of this playoffs. It might not be from a point margin. I haven't gone back and looked at all the games. But from a optic of like, man, this team, we just can't run with this Oklahoma City team today, because they did not look like they belonged on the same court at portions of that game. And again, it wasn't like Indiana was turning the ball over at an alarming rate. They turned the ball over way more last game. I mean, 15 turnovers to the 24 they had last game. It was just in Oklahoma City was able to ratchet up that defensive intensity. And they haven't seen that these playoffs, not for a consistent 48. They saw some defensive intensities in the Knicks series, but the Knicks weren't consistent. This Thunder team, because of the way they're coached, because of the way that they play for each other, because of the depth that they have, they're able to keep defensive intensity for all 48 minutes. And Indiana's going to have to adjust to that. And it starts with Tyrese being aggressive when he needs to be aggressive, and then allowing the offense to come to some of his teammates, because Indiana can't afford to wait. Tyrese can't wait to the fourth quarter to turn it on. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. Sorry, my webcam keeps shifting here. That's what I'm going to be looking for in game 3 on Tuesday. Let me know who you got in the comments below. I like OKC. I picked OKC in 6. I like OKC taking the first one in Indiana. The momentum's on their side. I think they've started to kind of figure out Indiana a little bit on and what matchups work against what lineups. And so now it's time for Rick Carlisle to come up with something interesting. I think we're in store for a great game 3 in Indiana. The crowd's going to be wild, just like how it was in OKC's first 2 games. I'm looking forward to that. All right. With that being said, I am out of here. Remember, please subscribe to the Infamously Speaking YouTube channel. Follow us on TikTok, X, Instagram. That's where you get the latest show updates. Tons of fan interaction going on there. We respond to all comments. So if you have something that you want to share with us, please drop it in any of those places, including this video right here, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Appreciate you all. New episode of Infamously Speaking is dropping tomorrow. We speak with Chris from the Growth and Development Podcast, talking about how sports and the lessons that we learn from sports, we carry those from childhood to adulthood. So tune into that. You're not going to want to miss that conversation. Appreciate you all. And as always, think critically, speak infamously. Love.